A man walks down the street, impeccable suit, rehearsed smile, calculated steps. He greets acquaintances with rehearsed phrases, repeats opinions he heard on TV, posts photos of a life that seems perfect. At night, alone in front of the mirror, he doesn't recognize his own face because that man doesn't exist. He's a collage, a well-told lie, a ghost dressed in human clothes. Grab your whiskey as we delve deeper into the topic. How to find and live your true self. If you've made it this far, it's because something inside you knows there's a gigantic lie being lived. And before we continue, subscribe to the channel not because I need another number, but because you need more inconvenient truths in your life. Nietzsche once said, "Become who you are." Simple, right? 4 words. But wait, if you need to be como you are, this means that achi this moment you is not who are ya. You are something else. Something manufactured, something borrowed. Now, tell me how many fake versions of you exist right now? The version your parents wanted, the version your boss expects, the version you post on Instagram, the version you wear on a first date, the successful version, the spiritual version, the cool version. Which one is real? None. They're all masks. And you're buried beneath this pile of poorly rehearsed characters. Look, I'm not talking about conscious pretense. That would even be honest. I'm talking about something much more frightening. You truly believe that these masks are you. You've forgotten that you're acting. It's become too methodical. The actor has become confused with the role. Nietzsche called this the life of la Kend. No, this is not a poetic insult. It is a clinical diagnosis of the modern human condition. The herd does not think it follows. It does not create values, it inherits them. It does not choose, it obeys. And it works like this. Since childhood, you've been trained to be polite, proper, normal. You were taught what to think before you were taught as to think. They gave you ready-made answers before you even asked the questions. Be humble. Don't stand out too much. Think of others. Be realistic. Translation. Be small, invisible, harmless, and you obeyed. Of course you obeyed, because disobeying hurts. Disobeying means being rejected, judged, isolated. So you learned to dance to the music even if you hated the melody. Today, you work in a job that doesn't motivate you. You repeat cliches that you don't feel. You laugh at jokes you don't find funny. You agree with opinions that aren't your own. You live in relationships based on convenience, not truth. And deep, don't way down deep, you feel it. You feel that something is wrong. An unease, an emptiness, a sensation of living someone else's life because you are... Nietzsche knew this. He saw an entire civilization built on comfortable lies. People living like sleepwalkers, repeating empty gestures, following rules they don't even know where they came from. He looked at it and said, man is a rope stretched between the animal and the Overman, a rope over an abyss. You're on that tightrope now, hanging between what they made you become and what you could become. And the abyss is the truth that you're not yet yourself. Take a deep breath for a moment, because what comes next isn't comfortable, it's not motivational, it's not that nice little self-help text you save and forget. It's a mirror, and mirrors, when honest, hurt. Would you have the courage to look at your life and admit, I don't know who I am, I only know who they told me to be? If the answer is yes, stay with me. If it's no, maybe it's better to go back to Instagram. It's safer there. Everyone is happy there. Nobody needs to be real there. But if you stayed behind, welcome to the abyss. So you decided to stay brave or desperate? Maybe both. They're usually inseparable. Now let's talk about masks. Not the literal masks of Carnival or Halloween, but those you wear every day without realizing it. Those that have stuck to your skin so tightly that you think they are your skin. Nietzsche had a brutal term for it. Heard morality end? No, he wasn't being dramatic. He was being surgical. It works like this. From the cradle, you are bombarded with rules. Moral rules, social rules, rules about how to be good, how to be accepted, how to be normal. And all these rules have one thing in common. None of them were created by you. They were created by the herd, by the masses, by the mob that desperately needs everyone to be the same, predictable, controllable. Because, look, a society doesn't function with individuals. Individuals are dangerous, unpredictable, uncontrollable. So society does what it's always done. It breaks you, it domesticates you, it turns wolves into dogs. And how does she do that? Simple. Through feblum. Don't be selfish. Think of others first. Be humble. Don't be arrogant. Translation: don't be powerful. Don't be free. Don't be yourself. Nietzsche called the slave morality a morality invented by the weak to control the strong, to ensure that any impulse toward greatness, uniqueness, or self-affirmation was labeled as arrogance, selfishness, or pride. It's brilliant if you stop to think about it. Venomous, but brilliant. Do you want to be different? Who do you think you are? Do you want to follow your own path? You're being selfish. Do you want to create your own values? You're losing perspective, and it works. My God, how well it works. How many times have you stopped yourself from doing something because you thought, what will they think of me? How many times have you suppressed your true opinions because you didn't want to seem controversial? How many times have you pretended to agree, pretended to like, pretended to be someone you're not Jewish to avoid being kicked out of the tribe? Because that's what it's all about. Fear of exclusion, fear of being alone, fear of being judged, rejected, canceled. And then you put on the mask of the obedient child, the mask of the dedicated employee, the mask of the helpful friend, the mask of the nice guy. And the worst part is, you convince yourself that these masks are virtues, that being submissive is being humble, that being invisible is being discreet, that being inconspicuous is being mature. But Nietzsche is nudging you. Virtue that needs approval is not virtue. It is cowardice in disguise. Look at social media. Please look. That pathetic theater where everyone performs an edited, filtered, lying version of themselves. Where nobody posts about depression, only about trips. Nobody posts about failure, only about being blessed. Nobody posts about loneliness, only about toasts with friends. Because nothing says authenticity like 47 takes of the same candid photo, right? But don't judge too quickly. You do the same. Maybe not on Instagram, but you do at work when you agree with that idiotic boss, at family dinners when you laugh at your prejudiced uncle's jokes, in your relationship when you pretend everything is fine when it's not. You perform, you act, you lie. And the most dangerous mask of all, the mask you wear for yourself, that narrative you tell yourself in your own head about who you are. I am a good person. I care about others. I am realistic. I am rational. Is that really true? Or are you just repeating the script you were taught? Nietzsche, she said, you are not who you think you are. You are who they told you to think you are. And here's the terrifying part. You defend these masks. You protect them. Because admitting they're masks means admitting you've wasted years, maybe decades living a lie, so you It's not that bad. Everyone does it. You have to be practical. Sure, practical. Because nothing is as practical as dying without ever having truly lived. Think about it. How many versions of yourself exist right now? How many voices in your head aren't your own, but echoes of parents, teachers, bosses, pastors, influencers, and the real voice, the one that tells you what you truly want, what you truly feel? Is it still alive? Or have you stifled it so much that it's become just a muffled whisper that you ignore every morning? You know the answer. You always have. But hold on. It's not over yet, because recognizing masks is only the first step. Now comes the hard part. Throw them away. So you looked in the mirror and saw the masks. You saw the lie. You saw the act. And now comes the question that really matters. Do you have the courage to rip off those masks? Because, look, admitting that you're not yourself is uncomfortable. Buto bikamu. Are you really That's terrifying. Nietzsche wasn't kidding when he said, become who you are. It wasn't a self-help mantra. It wasn't a motivational post. It was an existential commandment, a battle cry. And wars, my dear, have casualties. So take one more deep breath, because what comes next is going to hurt. It's going to cost you. It's going to bleed. Becoming who you are means destroy who you pretended to be, and this is not poetic. This is violent. It is surgical. It is amputation without anesthesia. You're going to have to look at your life and ask yourself, is this mine or is it theirs? That job you hate but keep because it's stable, is it really yours? Or is it your mother's fear that you'll face hardship? That lukewarm relationship where you pretend everything is fine, is it really yours? Or is it the social pressure of not being single at 30? Those opinions you defend tooth and nail, are they really your own? Or did you simply inherit them from your group, your bubble, your tribe? And the brutal truth, most of the things you think are yours aren't. They are borrowed, copied, imposed. Nietzsche knew this. He looked at humanity and saw copies. Copies of copies. Blurred Xerox copies of something that was once real long ago. And then he proposed something radical. Amor, fati, love for destiny, love for your life, for your story, for your wounds, for your mistakes, for your shame, not resigned acceptance. Not that defeatist. It is what it is. Butactive, fierce, irrevocable love, because you won't find yourself running from who you were. You will find yourself embracing all of this and choosing what to do from here. Look at your history. All those things you try to hide, all those failures you don't tell anyone about, all those wrong choices, all that pain, that's not trash. That is raw material. Nietzsche said, you don't become who you are despite your wounds. You become who you are because of them. But, and here's the crucial point, you need to choose your wounds. You need to say, yes, this happened. And I transformed this into strength, not an excuse. And that, my friend, requires solitude. Not the romantic loneliness of the misunderstood artist. Loneliness, real that. Place where you're alone with your thoughts and realize that most of them aren't your own. You're going to have to distance yourself. Maybe from people, maybe from environments, maybe from that whole structure that kept you standing but also kept you trapped. And that's terrifying, because the herd doesn't forgive those who step out of line. Your friends will think you're strange. You've changed as if it were an accusation. Your family will question you, are you okay? As if authenticity were a disease. Your colleagues will judge you. Who do you think you are? As if being yourself were a crime of arrogance. And you, alone in that room at 3 a.m, will wonder, am I crazy? No, you're not crazy. You are waking up, and waking up hurts. Because it means realizing you've been sleeping. But here's the truth. No one tells you. You don't need their approval. You never have. You only think you need it because you've been trained to believe it. You've been conditioned to seek external validation like a lab rat looking for food. But what if, take a deep breath, what if their opinion of you didn't matter? What if you could live without needing everyone to understand you, approve of you, applaud you? What if you could just be? Nietzsche called this becoming the creator of their own values. Do not copy. Do not inherit. Do not obey. To create. And creating is scary because it means total responsibility. It means you can no longer blame anyone. You can no longer say, but I was taught this way, or everyone does it. You choose and you bear the consequences. But that is the only real freedom that exists. And then comes the final test. The test Nietzsche used to separate the living from the dead, the eternal return. Imagine that you had to live your life exactly as it is. Every moment, every choice, every pain, every joy, infinite times forever. No changes, no edits. Would you accept, would you love your life so much that you would want to live it forever? If the answer is no, then you're not living your own life yet. You're living someone else's life. If the answer is no, then you know what you need to do, not tomorrow, not when things get better, not when the time is right, now. Because the right moment never arrives, it is created. You went through the recognition, through the pain, through the necessary solitude. And now you are here naked before yourself, without masks, without excuses. And the question that remains is, so now what? Who do I create? Because, look, it's not enough to destroy the masks. It's not enough to reject the values of the herd. You need create your own values. You need to become the architect of your own existence. And here enters Nietzsche's most misunderstood and most powerful concept, the Supermanda Overman. The Superman? No, it's not some guy in a cape flying around saving the world. It's not the billionaire Sigma male that Instagram coaches sell. It's not the narcissistic sociopath who thinks he can do whatever he wants. It's something much more radical and much more difficult. The Übermensch is the one who creates values. From himself, someone who doesn't need God, society, or external approval to know what is right or wrong. For Emi, it is the one who looks into the abyss of existence meaningless, without guarantees, without an instruction manual, and says, I create my own meaning. And that, my friend, requires a courage that most people don't have. Because creating your own values means abandoning security. It means letting go of ready-made certainties. It means accepting that you might be wrong and moving forward anyway. Nietzsche said, you must be prepared to burn in your own flame. How could you renew yourself without first becoming ashes? So let's be practical, because philosophy without application is intellectual masturbation. How does one live authentically? First, you stop asking for permission. Stop waiting for someone to tell you that everything is okay. Stop seeking validation before every move. Stop living in pre-approval. Want to change careers? You don't need family approval. Want to end that dead relationship? You don't need 15 friends agreeing. Want to create something different? You don't need likes before you start. You act and then deal with the consequences. Second, you embrace incomprehension. Because here's the hard truth. When you start to truly live, most people won't understand you. They'll find you strange, radical, lost. And do you know why? Because you're going off script. And that scares those who are still stuck in it. Nietzsche was misunderstood his entire life. He died alone, insane, and bankrupt. His books sold less than a Blender manual. But he didn't stop. Because he wasn't writing to be popular. He was writing to be true. You need to make peace with that. With the possibility of not being understood. With the possibility of being judged. With the possibility of being alone. Because sometimes being alone is better than being surrounded by people who only love their facade. Third, you create your own rituals, your own symbols, your own liturgy of life. This isn't cheap mysticism, it's structure. It's a conscious choice. The Übermensch is not chaotic. He is disciplined in his freedom. Maybe it's waking up every day at 5 a.m. to write. Maybe it's walking alone in nature every Sunday. Maybe it's having a sacred hour of silence where no one can reach you. It doesn't matter what. What matters is that it happens. You're let it be chosen, not inherited. Fourth, you stop living in reactive mode. Most people live reacting. Reacting to expectations. Reacting to judgments. Reacting to trends. Reacting to the latest Twitter controversy. The Übermensch lives in Modi Creative, doesn't react to the world. He creates his desire world. It's not escapism. It's not alienation. It's an active choice about where to put your energy, your attention, your life. Because every time you react to something external, you give power to that thing. Every time you get offended, irritated, or frustrated by what others do or think, you are admitting that they have control over you, and they don't have it unless you give it to them. Fifth, you apply the eternal return test in real time. Before every important choice, ask yourself, would I choose this an infinite number of times? That job that pays well but drains your soul, could you live like that forever? That comfortable but passionless relationship, would you repeat that forever? That safe but risk-free life, would you accept reliving it endlessly? If the answer is no, you already know what to do. And yes, that means you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make bad choices. You're going to regret them. You're going to fall. But do you know what's worse than making a mistake? Never having tried. Nietzsche knew this. I'd rather die of thirst than drink from a cup I didn't choose. So here's the stark truth. Living authentically isn't easy. It isn't comfortable. It isn't safe, but it is real. And in the end, between a comfortable but false life and a difficult but true life, which one do you really want? Because you only have a single life, and it's passing by right now as you read this. So tell me, are you going to continue living as a copy, or will you have the courage to become original? The choice was always yours, and it always will be. You've come this far. You've overcome the masks, the pain of awakening, the solitude of creation, and now you're about to take the leap. But before you jump, you need to know something that nobody tells you in self-help books, motivational podcasts, or pretty Instagram quotes. Freedom comes at a price, and that price is high. Nietzsche didn't paint a romantic picture of authenticity. He didn't sell the fantasy that by becoming who you are, everything will become beautiful, magical, and resolved. No, he was honest, brutally honest. And honesty is this: when you become free, you lose things. You lose approval, that collective affection, that pat on the back from the flock saying, "Good boy, stay there, quiet, be proper." That ends. Because the flock doesn't forgive those who leave the line. It doesn't forgive those who stop obeying. It doesn't forgive those who dare to be different. They'll call you crazy, selfish, lost, arrogant, and you know the worst part? Sometimes, in moments of doubt, you'll believe them. You'll look at your life and think, are they right? Am I fooling myself? And that's where you need to be strong, because doubt is part of the process. Insecurity is part of the journey. Nietzsche experienced this firsthand. He chose the truth, and he was left alone. His books didn't sell. His colleagues ignored him. His health deteriorated. In the end, he went matty, hugged a horse in the street, weeping, and never returned. Tragic, yes, but he didn't regret it, because he truly lived. He didn't waste his life being an acceptable copy. And are you willing to pay the price? Because, look, you can stay in your comfort zone. You can continue being who they expect you to be. You can keep the masks, the secure jobs, the lukewarm relationships, the borrowed opinions, and nobody will judge you. Everyone will say you are sensible, mature, and realistic. But at night, alone with your thoughts, you will know. You will know that you betrayed yourself, that you chose safety over truth, that you preferred survival to life. And that, my friend, is a slow death, a living death. Or you can jump. You can break free. You can tear off the masks once and for all and say, this is who I am. And to hell with anyone who doesn't like it. And what do you gain from that? You win power, thought, rare feeling of truly being alive, of not just existing, but you gain authenticity, the profound peace of knowing that you're not lying. You're not pretending. You're not betraying who you are. You gain freedom, real freedom, not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to be who you are without apologizing. And you gain something the herd will never have, your own life. Because in the end, what's the point of living 80 years if none of those years were truly yours? Nietzsche said there are men who are born posthumously, men who live their whole lives dead inside, and only later, when they can no longer change anything, do they realize the waste. Don't be that man. Don't be that woman. You have now this moment, this breath, this choice. And the choice is simple, but not easy. Will you live as a shadow or as fire? Will you die without ever having truly existed? Or will you burn brightly, even if briefly? You will regret what you did or what you did. No, he did, because regret for action hurts, but regret for inaction, for having wasted your only life being tiny, invisible, acceptable, that hurts, destroys. So take one last deep breath, look at your life, at your choices, at your masks, and ask with complete honesty, if you had to live this life an infinite number of times, exactly as it is now, would you accept it? If the answer is yes, congratulations. You've already found yourself. If the answer is no, you know what you need to do. And there are no more excuses. There is no more when I have time. There is no more when things get better. There is no more someday. It only exists now, and now that's all you have. Nietzsche died insane, alone, misunderstood. But before he died, he wrote something that sums it all up. I am not a man. I am dynamite. He exploded. He lived intensely. He burned brightly. And are you going to explode? Or will you slowly fade away without ever truly igniting? The choice, as always, is yours. And it always has been. Empty whiskey. Fill your glass. The next abyss awaits you. Subscribe to the channel